I'll tell you what. I'll stop saying JRPG just as soon as Japan stops being a bunch of racist c***s. Deal? What's up guys, Acerthorn here, and I just got finished watching the latest Jimquisition video, so should we stop saying JRPG? And in this video, Jim Sterling points out that a lot of Japanese game developers seem rather put off by the fact that we in the English-speaking world use the term JRPG to refer to basically the style of RPGs that people in Japan tend to design. He points out that a lot of people see it as basically prejudiced and just bordering on racist, that we attribute this style to Japan in particular, and that it's kind of a label-y. It's almost like kind of pointing out how people in China eat dogs. It's like we're not demeaning them for eating dogs, but we are nonetheless stereotyping them because that is in fact a cuisine in that part of the world. But of course, many people in China will tell you that that's only a very small minority, and it's mostly just a stereotype that persists rather than an actual real thing. Yeah, and apparently the use of JRPG is apparently something similar, something we don't even try to consider to be racist. It's just that it just happens to be a term that we use in a completely neutral capacity, but which the people to whom it actually refers are kind of put off by it. Now here's the thing. In nearly any other circumstance, I would personally be quite sympathetic to that. It would be, I tend to get enormously put off when trans people start cussing me out and calling me a bigot just because I don't believe in they, them as singular pronouns. I even made a video about that last year if you guys want to check that out. But, as long as you're being polite about it, I'm willing to have that discussion with you as to whether or not you are justified in feeling this way and whether I should rethink my position. You be a dick about it, and I'm gonna double down, like I have with the pronouns thing, but as long as it's an attempt at bridging communication gaps, yeah, I'm all for that, as long as you're doing it in good faith. But here's the problem with that. Japan are fucking hypocrites when they complain about this, because Japan is one place where systemic, institutionalized racism is not only practiced, but is practiced openly, and it is normalized. To show you what I mean, let me show you a Reddit post. I saw the audio version of this on TikTok about a couple of weeks ago, and I saved it, so I googled it and found the original Reddit post. As you can see, this guy who's lived in Japan for 16 years, he is quintessentially Japanese at this point. Like, his loyalties, like, he is just as much of a Japanese guy as Arnold Schwarzenegger is an American. And, he frequently gets turned away from establishments, bars, restaurants, etc., just because he's white. And the police genuinely don't seem to see any problem with that. Can you imagine if an American restaurant were to try to pull some shit like that here? The federal courts would eat him for lunch. No pun intended. Like, that sort of practice, let alone as when it's practiced as openly as that, has been blatantly illegal in the United States for over half a century now. And it's important to keep in mind that, yeah, the USA sometimes gets stereotyped for being racist. We are very ashamed of our racist history, and we have taken great pains to correct that. But a lot of people apparently seem to think that the United States is hella racist until they actually come here. In fact, to prove what I mean, here's another Reddit post. This guy is from Asia, though I don't think he ever specifies a country, and he was shocked, pleasantly surprised, by just how not racist everyone is when he came here. And, see, there's actually a good reason for that, because we are so ashamed of our racist past, in the already rare event that some people are racist, the vast majority of other people typically tend to call it out. They don't let this racist pig get away with his racist shitbaggery, and they call him out on it. But of course, by calling him out on it, they're inevitably going to draw attention to his behavior. And when the drawing of attention to that behavior started to get circulated on social media, and it goes viral, people in other countries are going to see it. And when they see enough of it, they start to assume that, hey, that must be commonplace in the United States. Because I see it all the time from the comfort of my own home, sitting on the shitter, just staring into this electronic rectangle thingy. See, it is so ironic here that in Japan, most outsiders don't know about the rampant racism and discrimination specifically because it is so ubiquitous and normalized that nobody makes a big deal about it. But in the United States, people assume that it's so racist because they hear about it so much, but the only reason they hear about it so much is because it's not very common. There is actually a very real scientific term to describe this phenomenon. It is called the availability heuristic. I'll even put the Wikipedia page on screen for you, and I'll also post, and for the record, all of these links are in the description, where basically people tend to view something as far more commonplace due to the disproportionate representation that these things receive in the media. And for that reason, they tend to think that something is far more commonplace than it actually is. Like, a lot of people mistakenly believe that they're far more likely to die to mass shootings than they are to die to just about anything else, because it's the mass shootings that get all the media attention. In reality, your odds of dying from that are very, very small. I mean, that's not to minimize mass shootings. I mean, they definitely need to be stamped out, but just from a purely statistical point of view, that is not even remotely close to the most common cause of death in the United States. And so that's basically the availability heuristic in a nutshell. And that's basically what's at play here. Japan is ubiquitously racist and xenophobic, but because of how ubiquitous it is normalized and nobody seems to notice it, unless they are there to experience it firsthand. Whereas in the United States, the fact that it's not so normal means that it's gonna be far more likely to get called out when it happens, which, ironically, causes people to think that it's far more common than it actually is. So, overall, yeah, I'll tell you what, if Japan were to if Japan were to ever stop being such racist, bigoted fuckwads, then I'll definitely consider their feelings whenever they say that us using JRPG, a term that doesn't even cause any damage directly, might actually be inadvertently racist against Japanese people. If they start practicing what they preach, then I'll start listening to their considerations. But until then, they can cry me a river. So, With that being said, I am Acerthorn, and I will see you guys later. Peace!